It's the 21st show. I'm Brian Mackey. Harvest season has arrived in central Illinois, at least around where I live. It's shaping up to be a good year for corn, but there's still a chance that disease might affect crop yield. And that's because fungi, such as tar spot and southern rust, are making appearances much later in the year than usual. Joining us now to talk about this is Rob Elliott, a farmer based in Monmouth. Rob, welcome to the 21st show. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thank you. My pleasure to join you today.
I should say he's also a longtime member of the Illinois Corn Growers Board. Also with us is Boris Camilletti, an extension plant pathologist in the Department of Crop Sciences at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. Boris, welcome to you as well.
Hi, hello. Thank you for having me.
And listeners, if you want to join us today, 800-222-9455 is the number. That's 800-222-9455. All right, Rob, let's start from the beginning of the growing season. How has this year been for you on the farm?
Well, in all reality, it's been a pretty good year. People got in and planted timely in pretty good conditions, and the crop got off to a rather good start. We had rain in July, probably more than what we would typically see. So those are all good things to keep that crop rolling along. However, as we got into I'll call it mid-August, disease began to appear. And our fear all along was, what's the surprise that's going to happen that can take the top end off of a really good crop? So the disease was kind of that answer. We had some what I'll call crown rot from some early wet conditions that seemed to be perking up a little bit. But the two fungal diseases that you mentioned on the front end, uh, tar spot as well as southern rust, have come in here mid-August. Probably for many, the southern rust was the predominant one. It's the more visual one you can see. Tar spot was something certainly on the radar because it had been so predominant in 2021. And as we recall back to 2021, we had a whole cocktail of diseases that came into the crop, but I will characterize the difference versus this year in that they came in early August, whereas my hope is that we're coming in a little later in the year here during the 25 growing season, and hopefully it will have a bit less impact on final grain fill. When that disease comes in like it is, it tends to what I'll call shut down the factory. So things are not as efficient. The plant's not operating quite as well as it should and begins to die off. The stock is uh, cannibalized to a degree, and the plant begins to deteriorate. And as an ultimate end effect, you don't have quite the yield that you would have without those diseases. So time will tell. Harvest is getting going, and we still will have a good crop, but maybe not quite the crop that we had going early.
Boris Camilletti, plant pathologist in the Department of Crop Sciences at U of I. Where do these diseases come from? Tell us about their pathology, I guess.
Well, yes, those both diseases are different. Tar spot probably is the most predominant one. It's caused by a fungus that is called scientifically Phylacora medis. So this is a pathogen that what we call a obligated parasite. So it survives only colonizing corn tissue or the corn plant, and then it will survive in the winter in the corn residue. So these black spots that are the symptoms of tar spot, what you can see on the leaf during the season, these are like extractors that will contain thousands of spores that will remain in the corn residue, and the following season they will be released and generate the new infections. It's what we call a foliar disease because it's affecting the leaf and it is reducing the ability to produce nutrients to fill the grain, and the impact on the yield will depend on when the disease develop, at which growth stage the disease will start developing and affecting the plant. Southern rust is a different pathogen. It's also an obligated parasite, but this is a pathogen that cannot survive in the U.S. during the winter. So it's a disease that will develop first in the tropical region, and then will enter the U.S. First in the southern states, and will start developing there, and then it will move towards our area or region. The time that it will arrive in our region is very variable and depends on the weather conditions of a specific year. Compared to other seasons, every season is different, but this season the disease arrived early compared to last year, but it was different depending on the area in Illinois.
Just about 30 seconds until we need to take a break, Boris. But what is it about the weather, right? It's felt hot. I know it was very hot in August. At least that was my perception. Does that have some effect on how this spreads?
No, I mean, both temperature and humidity are really important, but the pathogens, in order to affect the tissue, needs like really high humidity. For tar spot, it's tricky. Like, it doesn't like the very hot weather and the very humid conditions, so it needs like more mild temperatures and also good humidity or high humidity to infect the tissue. And this is why we tend to be this disease at the end of the season.
Okay, we are going to take a break. We will continue talking about what has been a pretty good year for corn, as we're hearing in Illinois, but there is cropping up in some places fungi, tar spot, southern rust, later in the year than might be expected, threatening to put a dent in what was going to be a good year for corn. We're talking about this with Boris Camilletti, who's a extension plant pathologist at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, and Rob Elliott, a farmer based in Monmouth. 800-222-9455 to join us on the program today. 800-222-9455. We'll be back after a break. This is The 21st Show. It's the 21st Show. I'm Brian Mackey. We are talking about funguses that could be affecting farmers this harvest season. It includes tar spot, southern rust, crown rot, and we're talking about this with two people with deep knowledge of the agriculture industry. Rob Elliott is a farmer based in Monmouth, also a longtime member of the Illinois Corn Growers Board, and Boris Camilletti is an extension plant pathologist in the Department of Crop Sciences at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, and an assistant professor of crop sciences there. You can join us at 800-222-9455. That's 800-222-9455. So, Rob, how common is it to get a fungi like this in your fields?
Well, we see some type of disease probably most every year, so it's not unusual. It's all about timing and the severity of the infection and those kind of things that can affect the corn plant. We use crop protection tools like fungicide to help control. And I think after the 21 season, which was so severe with disease that many have looked at their program and fine-tuned it a bit for the crop protection aspects of the fungicide to do the best they can to kind of endure what that disease brings.
Are there downsides to taking those precautions? I mean, is it, even if it's just cost, or does it have other downstream effects for what you do?
Well, you always try to manage your costs. Certainly, those things are expensive, but at the same time, it's a risk reward kind of balancing act that farmers go through on virtually everything they do. So you don't spend money unless you feel like it's necessary to have a good outcome for or increase the probability that you're going to have a good production year. In years like this, where our profitability is rather low or non-existent, depending on your situation, it's a bad day to have low prices, but it's a really bad day to have low yields to go with low prices. So farmers are about raising their production to levels that will meet their costs, and that's what the game's all about.
I want to pick apart a couple of those aspects you just said there, right? Low prices, but also low yields. How does a fungus like this actually affect the yield? Is it stunting the growth? So each, what would you say, ear of corn is smaller, or is it? Are you having to throw away, part of the harvest? How does it actually play out?
Well, basically, what happens to my point earlier, it tends to prematurely shut down the factory, if you will. And as a result, this year in August, with a lot of late season dryness or lack of rainfall, along with that uh, disease uh, have taken its toll on the plants, you're shutting it down before it can fill that kernel fully. And that's been the key the last few years to having a yield is that you have good kernel weight. If you don't have good kernel weight, you don't have near the bushels. And the other thing that goes with that plant health aspect with disease is it cannibalizes that stalk. The stalk can become weak. You can have harvest losses. So the problem magnifies as you get closer to harvest and into the season when you've got those diseases taking its toll.
Boris, I understand there's no sort of harm or risk to humans with these diseases. Can you talk about why that's the case? And I guess it would be either from being around it or even consuming some of the products that would be the end result of this harvest.
Yeah, no. So these are plant pathogens, so they cannot affect humans. So we are safe. It doesn't harm our health. And then in terms of the quality of the corn, this is a pathogen we have not identified any mycotoxin that may reduce the quality of the corn. So far, based on the evidence that we have, is safe in that way too.
Can these spread to other types of crops? Is there a risk with that, Boris? Like soybeans, for example?
Yeah, no, like the plants are like different family, so this pathogen cannot affect soybeans specifically, not
Okay.
other crops that we have commonly here in the Midwest. It may affect other plants, like ornamental plants, but not in the cropping system.
So, Rob, you mentioned two, I think, of these that would be affecting you. Is there a compounding effect to getting these things kind of all at once?
Sure. As I mentioned, crown rot happens and comes in early and shows up later. And then also we've got the southern rust being our predominant disease with the tar spot showing up as well. So again, it's just all a matter of timing, and timing can affect the impact along with other weather like the dry weather that we're having that ultimately affects your yield.
I understand a majority of central Illinois is experiencing drought conditions right now. Not necessarily everywhere in Illinois, but Rob, what is it like based on where you are in Monmouth?
Well, I mean, August has been extremely dry, so not much rain at all in August. And when you have a dry tail end of the season, again, going back to that grain fill concept, you have less moisture to continue filling that ear and plump up, if you will, and increase weight in those kernels. And as a consequence, you're going to have a negative effect on yield.
Interesting. What you mentioned that prices are down. Talk about that. What's going on with corn prices?
Well, we're just we're in a situation. The American farmer is very efficient, and we tend to increase productivity. And by that, I mean with the use of technology and how we provide nutrients to plants, how we protect those plants, how we do a better job at planting, harvesting the whole thing. We're continuing to raise yield. Genetics have gotten better, and the ability to withstand weather adversities has gotten much better. So as a result, there's a high likelihood, even in tough times, from a weather aspect that our current day plants and processes and technologies are going to produce a pretty good yield. And as a result, we've got more yield and we're making more piles than what we have got places to send those piles. And as a result, again, supply demand, we've got a supply problem in the piles too big, and we've got a demand problem in that we don't have enough places to send this corn. So things like ethanol and trade are two big ways that we could continue to move more of these piles and change our profitability. But in order to do that, we need a few things to click for us.
Yeah, well, like a farm bill, for example, potentially. You mentioned ethanol trade. I wondered because yeah, like you said, you addressed the supply side, the demand side. I was wondering, is this, people are consuming less ketchup, and you don't need the high fructose corn syrup. That's kind of become a boogeyman for some people, or is it the international trade disputes that are happening right now? How do you see that?
Well, it's a combination of a lot of those things, but we actually have got around the world pretty good demand. Certainly, some tariff aspects have probably limited that trade just a little bit. So, if we can continue to deal with more of our partners around the world to send our products to new places, and the other one's ethanol. If we could have the freedom to operate with ethanol, with E15 as an example, or mid-level blends of ethanol could become legal and the norm. We could change our plight very, very quickly, but in order to do that, we need that freedom to operate.
How do you mean freedom to operate? Freedom
Well, I
from
mean,
what?
right now, E15 is, as an example, or a 15% blend of ethanol is not legal in many states year round. So, if we could expand that market in that simple fashion there, we could increase the demand for ethanol. We could increase the demand for corn. We've seen a significant increase in other world countries who are now buying our ethanol and incorporating those higher blends into their economy. So we got a lot of good things going. We just don't have enough of them for the supply of corn that we've got.
What about and I know some farmers switch off between corn and soy over the years. I wonder if you have concerns, if you've seen it, followed any of these news stories about China's soy orders being really down, non-existent, at least in some of the stories I saw. Though I read that there was one order placed where they're usually like buying up 25% of American beans.
Yeah, China's not buying a lot of our soybeans today, and as a result, sourcing a good portion of their needs from South America. And China has made significant investments in South America to help them with logistics and to be able to move some of those soybean products uh, out of the country even better, faster, those kind of things. So we got a lot of worldwide dynamics at work. We need to continue to find other sources for soybeans like sustainable aviation fuel for corn and beans, both possibly, and some of those kind of things to get those regulatory roadblocks out of the way that we can allow markets to operate and use our products at a bit faster and bigger pace.
Boris Camilletti, I want to come back to you. As we began this conversation talking about these fungi and how they're affecting potentially corn yields this year. Big picture, is there something, from government policy wise or just, farm production techniques that people should be considering to sort of try and head off problems caused by these particular diseases in the future?
Well, at this point of the season, if we are already at R5 stage, at dent stage, maybe, and you see like a really high disease pressure, maybe there is no need to spray a fungicide to control them. Like we are now in a phase in the season where no fungicide application will increase the yield. What we can do is to start planning for the next season. Rotating crops will always reduce the chance to have diseases, especially like the crown rot that Rob mentioned. If you are doing continuous corn and then you have these type of problems that are like soil-borne pathogens, and you do continuous corn, you are increasing the risk to having the disease. So at this point, there is no magic that we can do. For next season, there are several tools available at the Crop Protection Network where you can forecast disease risk, and that can help you to make an informed decision in terms of fungicide spraying, planning for the next season, during the next season.
Well, we're coming to the end of our time together, just about a minute left. Rob Elliott, I want to ask you, is it still viable to be a corn farmer these days? Is this a viable commodity into the future?
Oh, certainly. I mean, we're going to continue to find new uses for corn. We're going to continue to evolve as an industry. We always go through these cycles. We've done it before. And again, with just a little bit of help to develop some of these newer markets, we'll get rid of the corn piles that we've got out there, and we'll take advantage of the technology that's allowed us to increase our corn yield significantly.
All right. Rob Elliott is a farmer based in Monmouth, Illinois, and a longtime member of the Illinois Corn Growers Board. Boris Camilletti is an assistant professor and extension plant pathologist in the Department of Crop Sciences at the University of Illinois. Thank you both so much for being with us today on the 21st Show.
Thank you for the opportunity.
That's all the time we have for today. Coming up on tomorrow's show, eligibility for government food assistance is changing in the aftermath of this year's Republican tax law. Meanwhile, a related program meant to help people make healthier eating choices and stretch their grocery budget is also losing federal funding. We'll talk about how that might affect Illinois communities. We appreciate hearing from you about our programs and your suggestions for future guests or stories. Our email address is talk@21stshow.org, talk@21stshow.org. You can find that and every other way to contact us at our website, 21stshow.org. The 21st Show is produced by Christine Hatfield, Harrison Malkin, and Jose Zepeda. Our digital producer is Kulsum Khan. Technical direction and engineering from Jason Croft and Steve Mork. Reginald Hardwick's our news director. The 21st Show is a production of Illinois Public Media. I'm Brian Mackey. Thanks for listening. We'll talk with you again tomorrow.